Here we are on a Tuesday night, and we've got showery rains over the next several days in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. And in fact, in the Mid-Atlantic states, we're also dealing with some flood issues. Red flag warnings up in the northern plains, also in South Texas and Central Texas, where a heat wave's underway, as well as in parts of the Southwest. And we've got some severe weather issues coming up for Thursday, actually, even for tomorrow, too. So we'll talk all about that and more on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Those two handsome devils there. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast very easily, very simply by shopping on Amazon using our referral link into the top of the chat board and also on the descriptor to this podcast. All you got to do is use the search bar, shop for your stuff, and Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. And it doesn't cost you 1 cent out of your own pocket. So make sure that you support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, again, if you like, by doing your Amazon shopping via our referral link, because it keeps things commercial free. Hi there.
Hello, I just literally got in.
I figured your talk was, delayed you slightly.
It was okay. In fact, I would have gotten here a minute sooner, except I didn't park the car correctly into the garage. I had to go in and back out again.
As long as you didn't hit anything.
But here I am.
Good. And I got rid of the fire, just went to the regular black background because I think it looks better. Plus, you can see my dog sleeping on the bed, as he likes to do during the show. What was the program that always had a dog sleeping? I'm trying to remember. There was a program.
You mean there was a show in the 1950s called The People's Choice?
Right.
And the voice of the dog was a basset hound named Cleo. And the voice of the dog was done by Mary Jane Croft.
Okay. No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. There was a show where there was always a dog asleep, and it'll come to me anyway.
Well, the Beverly Hillbillies had a dog named Duke, and every time you saw Duke, he was asleep before.
Maybe I don't know if that one was it. There's probably another one. One of the frustrating things about living here is when it comes to weather and it comes to showery rains, the radars block a lot of what's up there. So I had to spend the day dodging downpours as I'm trying to do my landscape work in my yard. It was a challenge, let's put it that way, but I actually did get some work done. The only problem is if these downpours come, it rains really hard. And the soil here is predominantly clay. And when clay soil gets wet, you might as well be on black ice. It's almost worse than black ice.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah. I went flying a few times. Did a couple of triple axles, and I did fall on my rear end once. But I did get some work done, so I was happy about that. Anyway, not much has changed from what we were looking at, model-wise yesterday for the next several days. You still looks like there's showery rain threats going into Saturday, but I was thinking that maybe with a little luck, Sunday could wind up being rain-free.
Well, I wish I could say yes or no to that. I spent much of the day. Today was one of our grandson at the house day, and then after he left, it was time for me to quickly take a shower, get dressed up, had an early dinner, and then we headed out to do the talk at the library that I literally just got back from. So I haven't seen too many weather maps today, but I was thinking yesterday in the back of my mind that, of the weekend coming up, it's not going to be raining all the time, not going to be constant, but yeah, there might be something better later in the weekend and into the early part of next week, as opposed to what we're looking at now for the next few days.
And Christina Pedia described it perfectly. She said she had no more than 43 raindrops all afternoon where she is in central Suffolk County. It was like a wall, basically cutting right across New York City on a northwest southeast diagonal. And every time the rain tried to push up, it would push into that northwest flow that covers much of upstate New York and New England, and the echoes disappeared. Now that's going to change. It already has changed, at least with what I saw on the radar. That's going to be changing overnight and for the daytime and for Wednesday.
So, you would not, but you wouldn't refer to this as gloom and doom, would you? Or
No, because for me, gloom and doom, it's like all day long, start to finish, just, that gray sky onshore flow look. And while there are going to be stretches like that at times, I think when we get starting on Thursday, not so much tomorrow, but probably starting on Thursday, when it's not raining, I wouldn't be surprised if the sun were to break through the clouds. And then you start to see some showery rains develop.
and would you agree with what I was saying yesterday that it will actually begin to turn maybe a bit muggier later on in
Yes,
the week?
and warmer,
Yeah.
and warmer too. Meanwhile, we've got, as I said, we've had showery rains down here in the southeast. There's some flash flooding going. The heaviest rain with all of this is stuck across Virginia and North Carolina, and that's where they have some flash flood watches and warnings of, which I'll go through. And while I'm doing that, you could give a quick look at some of the guidance. And I will say hi to everybody on the chat board tonight. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. A late start, and if you look on the map that I have up there, that 101-degree reading is for San Angelo, Texas. I'm not sure why, when you go to the Weather Service homepage, that at least for me, San Angelo, Texas is always up in the upper corner. And right now it's 101 degrees there. So appreciate those of you who have hung around for the late start, and welcome to those of you who are watching in the background, lurking about as we know you always do. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss us, because we're here Sunday through Thursday. The regular time is 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a storm around. And of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. And Quiet John hit the super chat button today and banged the tip jar a little earlier. Thank you, Quiet John, for your generous addition to the tip jar. So in the meantime, watches and warnings. You can see there's a concentration of flash flood watches up in much of Virginia and eastern North Carolina. With the red you see there, and in western Virginia, just east of the I-81 corridor, and also some of the red box counties that are highlighted in West Virginia and Southeast Ohio. Those are all working flash flood warnings at the moment. We have red flag warnings up in the Dakotas, eastern Dakotas into Minnesota and northwest Wisconsin, because it's hot and dry up there, so they've got fire risk. Same for south central Texas, along with heat advisories and temperatures over 100 degrees. And in the southwest, where we've got wind advisories, some high wind warnings, as well as red flag warnings. And you can check out the satellite loop tonight. It's taken about 3 days for this thing to move maybe 100 miles, but the clouds have now pushed up into central New York. It's still mainly clear in Massachusetts and Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. The moisture's trying to lift northward, and you can see where the thunderstorms are tonight, where all the lightning strikes. Again, all of this with this upper low. Upper lows this time of year, Joe, are so frustrating because they get locked up outside the main northwest flow. And if you look on the loop in northern New England and in southeastern Canada, all the clouds there are moving northwest to southeast. But this thing is completely separate from the general westerly flow, and as a result, you're sitting in it for days.
It's tough, and normally you would expect this type of a pattern in March or April. Usually by May, you say, okay, May, we're well into, well, actually now we're into the second half of spring, and you would not anticipate that we'd have to deal with this type of situation. But The last several years, or at least over the last 10 years, we've had a few stretches of weather that have really, it's been el stinkaroo, so to speak, in May. I still remember, I don't remember the exact year, but it was right around the Memorial Day holiday where we had temperatures like in the 40s and drizzle or whatever. It was like horrible. But yeah, even at this late in the season, sometimes when you get these storms, these upper level systems that just get stuck or move very, very slowly, this is the pattern that you have to deal with for not just one, but more than a few days. And well, what else can you do except live with it?
Yep, and we've got energy coming into the northwest. You see a lot of clouds up there too, and there's also a little rotation you can pick out in northern Nevada and southeastern Oregon into Idaho, and that's the next upper low that's coming in, and that's going to be a severe weather trigger over the next couple of days. Check out the radar tonight, and there's again nothing over Long Island. The wall still is. Actually, even though it shows that bluish coloring, those that rain is not reaching the ground that's around New York City, or if it is, it's just a drop or two. You got to get into the greens. There's a band of slightly steadier rain across central New Jersey, right along 195. And then, of course, you go back into Pennsylvania, particularly in south central Pennsylvania, and you're looking at some steadier, heavier rain. And you can check out, by the way, look at all these flash flood warnings that are up in Western Virginia, West Virginia, Southeast Ohio. That's where really the heaviest rain has been concentrated. And here in Georgia, in North Georgia, picking up some heavier downpours. Now, again, with the mountains up here in North Georgia, a lot of times these downpours don't show up on the radar. And I can attest to that because I just had one right before the show started, one of many that went through. Usually they've been lasting like 5 to 10 minutes. It rains really hard, and then a lot of the time today the sun came out in between. But then if I look to my south toward Blood Mountain, I can see the wall of downpours coming off the mountain and heading my way. And we've got precipitation around the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies, particularly in Montana and Wyoming. A lot of that's all moving northward. And then if you look at the echoes back in Oregon and Nevada, they are moving southward. So there's another upper low that's sitting in here. Storm Prediction Center, marginal risk in Virginia, West Virginia, also in North Carolina and a portion of northeastern Tennessee and eastern Kentucky. The main player with these downpours and the occasional thunderstorm is heavy rain more than anything else, but there's always the chance that you could get an isolated severe cell. And also, we have a marginal risk in northern Alabama, northeastern Mississippi, and a marginal risk from northeast Wyoming, northeastward through western South and western North Dakota. Now, there are no severe thunderstorm watches up, nor are there any tornado watches. Now, tomorrow, they've got general thunderstorms tomorrow, Joe, up into upstate New York, north of I-90, and the marginal risk, Maryland, Delaware, into Virginia, North Carolina, and parts of South Carolina. And you were saying yesterday that you were disagreeing with the concept of bringing that general thunderstorm line that far north. Are you
Right.
still are you still in that camp?
Well, if it turns as humid as and the dew points go up as I was alluding to yesterday, then I could see that maybe by the time we get to tomorrow night, and especially so when we get to Thursday and Friday, that we could very well indeed see convection. Not anything significant, not severe or even marginal. I could see that on day 2 and day 3 we're in the general thunderstorm coverage area, and that most of the marginal activity or marginal to slight is to the south, and also on day 3 to the west of us. So it would not be surprising, I think, now if let's say late tomorrow night, Thursday, that we late tomorrow night, Thursday, that we had a rumble or two of thunder to deal with. Again, I don't expect it to be a major thunderstorm threat, but Yeah, it's possible. I think we could see a little convection here.
All right. Slight risk tomorrow in the Dakotas and in eastern Nebraska. There's a 2% tornado risk in that zone. Day three, however, the Storm Prediction Center has now added an enhanced risk of severe weather over much of the state of Wisconsin and kind of just edging into eastern Minnesota. Slight risk covers Indiana, eastern Illinois, Michigan, Western Ohio. You've got marginal risk as far east as Western New York and Pennsylvania and West Virginia, and as far south as southern Missouri, Northwest Tennessee, and into Arkansas. My guess is they've got a 30% probability as far as the wind is concerned, and they've got a hatched area up there, which means potential maybe for 65 knot winds in some thunderstorms. I'm thinking they're going to probably have at least a 5% tornado risk in that enhanced zone, and possibly even a 10.
Yeah. Well. Again, my main concern yesterday in talking about the lack of any thunderstorm activity. In fact, I thought we would have like an east or southeast wind from the ocean that would preclude much of that type of activity to develop. But again, as we build toward the latter part of this week, and as the humidity starts to climb, and as the dew points start to rise, then the atmosphere will become more supportive, obviously, of thunderstorm activity here in the immediate tri-state area. So, uh, while I would not go for any thunderstorm activity now, tonight, or during the early part of tomorrow, maybe by later tomorrow or tomorrow night, there'll be more of a better chance of that to develop here and on into again Thursday and even Friday as well.
Next 7 day rainfall amount. So this takes us through next Tuesday. Anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half across much of the Northeast. But remember, we're at that time of year where convection, uh, if it's when it gets convective, you can wind up locally with higher amounts than that. Sometimes it could be double what's being forecast. So I just want to put that out there. In the meantime, loaded with precip for the northern plains. We've got a large area of 3 inches plus, and even an area of 4 to 5 inches being indicated. That doesn't happen too often up in North Dakota and South Dakota outside of thunderstorms. And it also extends back through Montana and along the Wyoming state line. We've got an area of 4 to 5 inches of rain being forecast there. So it's a pretty wet pattern. And in the middle Mississippi Valley, we're looking at inch and a half to as much as 2.5 or even 3 inches as far south as Missouri. And the precip lightens up to nothing along the Gulf Coast from Texas to Florida. So they had their rain in the last number of days. So now they're getting the payback the other way, where there's no rain being forecast for the next seven. And also not much going on from West Texas into New Mexico, Arizona, and into California. Minimal amounts of precip there. It just picks up as you go northward up into the mountains. So just going to we'll look at the upper air, and you can see the upper low this afternoon was in Tennessee, just kind of edging northeastward. Still there in western Ohio tomorrow. Meanwhile, you got a deep trough in the west, and that's going to be the catalyst for the severe weather tomorrow in the Dakotas. And then on Thursday, with the low cutting off again in North Dakota and South Dakota, this is where we could wind up with a very active severe weather day in the upper Midwest. Meanwhile, our trough moves out offshore. We actually get a little bit of ridging in here, but not enough to really clean house. And as we go through the weekend, that cutoff in the Dakotas moves across the Great Lakes into southeastern Canada, so that by Sunday, we start to get back into more of a northwest flow. Another deep trough drops down into the west, and that eventually rides up to the Western Lakes. But it could mean with the change coming on Sunday and we could have some dry weather for a couple of days next week before we get another uh, another trough moving into the east Wednesday into Thursday, and then that's actually a pretty deep trough for May, and then yet another big trough down in the western part of the United States. By the way, with all of this, I know a few people on the chat board talking about the first 90-degree day. It ain't coming anytime soon. And if you're in the West with these deep troughs dropping in like this one after another, I mean, these are strong troughs that are dropping into the West, Joe. Uh, if you want summer weather in the West, it just ain't going to happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what the name of the game is, so to speak. And it's just unfortunate that we have to deal with this on a long-term basis. And I noticed, Joe, that on the 6 to 10 and the 8 to 14 day outlook from Climate Prediction Center, that they have, for the most part, over these next couple of weeks, above normal precipitation values for much of the eastern United States. So it would appear that um, we're unfortunately going to have to deal with a wetter than normal pattern for a number of days to come. I'm not talking about, in terms of the precipitation outlook, we're only into the first value. In other words, the value that is indicative of, oh, hang on for a second.
The lighter
Um,
green shading,
yes, the lightest
right?
of the green shading. And that corresponds to 33 to 40% leaning above, not not the likelihood of it being above normal, but leaning above normal. So again, it's not going to be a case of it's going to be raining all the time. Every moment you step outside over the next 2 weeks, it's going to be no, it's not going to be that. But the risk, because again of the higher level of humidity, I guess, will certainly be there on most every day over the next couple of days. But there'll be some dry days, I'm sure as well. But unfortunately, if you're looking for long-term stretch of below normal, well, according to the CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, if you want something like that, you're going to have to go to the far west. The far west has apparently a forecast of below normal precipitation right on through the next 2 weeks for places like, well, California,
Right.
Oregon, Nevada, those areas. They'll be seeing dry weather. But for us, the threat or risk of some kind of precipitation is going to be there apparently for the next couple of weeks, and also cooler than normal temperatures as well.
Yeah. You can see on the European, overnight, finally the rain advances northward into New York State, and as the northwest flow kind of pulls away, and you see those areas of showery rains to the west in Virginia and West Virginia, and to the south in Virginia. Um, they fade out during the night, and they bubble up again during the day on Thursday. Meanwhile, you see the deep low that comes out of the Rockies there and pushes up into the Dakotas, gets down into the 980s, and then there's an arm, basically what looks like an arm, which is the cold front, and some strong thunderstorms being picked up by the European Thursday afternoon in Wisconsin, back through Minnesota, and then swinging up northward, which is why they have the enhanced risk with this cutoff low that's going to strengthen. You never want to see these things strengthen uh, because that's usually the trigger for severe. That's going to be your severe weather trigger. And here in the east, of course, you get into Friday. Uh, that big arms tries to push eastward with some showers and a thunderstorm. Again, nothing widespread. It would suggest to me that most of the day Friday will probably be on the warm and humid side, and then you get a shower or thunderstorm maybe in the afternoon and evening, and then the same holds for Saturday. But that front on Saturday should push through. So Sunday looks a bit better. The only thing is, you've got the upper trough moving through southeastern Canada. So some showers and maybe some low top thunderstorms are going to be generated in upstate New York and New England. Now, whether they make it, they stay there or they come further south, something we'll have to watch. The Europeans also pretty bullish on some thunderstorm development in the middle Mississippi Valley from Saturday night into Sunday morning. You see a pretty impressive looking area of thunderstorms there from westernmost Kentucky along the Missouri-Arkansas state line, and then those move into Kentucky and the rest of Tennessee, and a line drops down into Mississippi and Alabama. And as far as the start of next week, it's high pressure in central and eastern Canada. So it looks like it should be dry on Monday into early Tuesday. And then another system, a pretty wrapped up system, goes up into the eastern lakes. And hey, you know what? This one, if this, we'll have to keep an eye on this one with this next trough for the east for the middle part of next week, because this could wind up being a severe weather producer for somebody as it goes by. But that's still 8 or 9 days away. And if you want to get a quick idea of the Memorial Day holiday weekend, Friday looks pretty cool. 546 thickness at New York City, Joe, Friday morning, going into Memorial Day weekend. And Saturday is a 540 thickness at New York City on Saturday morning. Can you believe that?
Well, I remember back in, I think it was 2014, where they actually had during Memorial Day weekend significant snow over the Adirondacks and Green and White Mountains in New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. That was again Memorial Day weekend. I'm not sure if it was 2014 or 2015. So yeah, it could get chilly even that late in the season.
Yeah.
Not saying snow from New York City, but you know, and again I mentioned several years ago, Memorial Day temperatures were like near 50 with drizzle here in New York City.
Sure.
So again, this is not something that we've never seen before. It certainly can happen, and you see these kind of conditions. And I know a lot of the people who are winter weather lovers out there are probably saying to themselves, "Yeah, May. Why couldn't this happen? Why couldn't these anomalies happen in January or February with a good old fashioned storm coming up from the Gulf?"
Yeah. Well, you had the cold this past winter. You just didn't have anything else.
Yeah, well, maybe next year.
Right. But that is a pretty for mid to late May. This is a very vigorous and chilly pattern. Just want to see what the anomalies look like. That ought to be interesting. Let me take a look.
I will
Uh,
say, Joe, that you said a couple of weeks ago, I think, we were talking about looking at the European, and you were saying how unusual it was that it was suggesting chillier than normal conditions, and yet at that time, CPC, the Climate Prediction Center people, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center, was actually suggesting above normal temperatures, in
yeah.
contrast to what you were saying. And now all of a sudden they flipped, and now again, as you look at CPC for the 6 to 10 and the 8 to 14 day outlook, they've got below normal temperatures for the next couple of weeks. So
Well,
they kind of changed sides again, and going more with what you were suggesting 2 weeks ago.
Well, that's why, we know they lurk in the background, and they should always pay attention to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, what we pontificate here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday. I got the anomaly map. Look, this is a week from Thursday, so this is next Thursday. Look at the extent of the below normal temperatures from the Rockies to just about to the East Coast. This is Thursday morning. And then Thursday afternoon, so that purple shaded area that you see from Maine, all that purple, Maine, southwestward down into Tennessee and North Georgia, that's like 15 degrees below average. So
That's
what's the,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, so that's Thursday afternoon. And then we'll go into Friday. Look at Friday afternoon. This is at 2 o'clock Friday afternoon. It's for areas in New Jersey, Long Island, Eastern Pennsylvania, 10 to 15 degrees below average temperatures. That's a big anomaly. That is a very impressive anomaly. And the other place where you've got the deep anomalies too is in the west because of the next trough coming into the west. It's much below normal temperature wise in Nevada. You look at it, temperatures running almost 20 degrees below normal across central and northern Nevada, into southern Idaho and into Oregon. And this is a very cool pattern. And then if we go to Saturday, same thing. Same thing for Saturday. Sunday, it's below normal, but it's not quite as extreme. And then Monday, Memorial Day, it's below normal, but for a different reason because you have another vigorous low heading through the Ohio Valley and into the Great Lakes with a pretty sharp warm front, cold front scenario. So that again, uh, folks, is we're talking 10 or more days down the road here. So some things could change, but I think the idea that it's going to be uh, chillier than normal makes a lot of sense.
And there you go.
Do you have Briller Jeopardy?
I will check.
I
Hang
will
on for
check too. I don't think I have it.
All right, I got to go to Switch now, and
By the way, you'll notice that
you know,
I
I'm sorry to cut you off.
yeah.
I have had an enormous, not an enormous number, but I've had a number of these messages that have been coming in now once or twice a day. When I click over to the, because this is what Scott Drill has been
What
sending me
did
now.
you? Go ahead.
The,
I'm sorry.
they've been sending me the questions through my professional page and not my personal page. But I've been getting these messages, Joe, these BS messages. Important notice from Meta. Your
Oh, right.
Facebook,
That they're going to shut you down.
yeah, it's permanently deleted.
I get two or three a day. I usually respond with, how shall we say, colorful language. Let's say
What I
colorful language.
what I do is I just simply say move to spam, and that's that.
Yeah, no, I occasionally sell. I occasionally answer with three letters. GFY.
Okay. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. In the following cities, this Thriller Jeopardy, a new weather category. This was sent yesterday at 8:10 in the morning. In the following cities, how many thunderstorm days do they average in the summer, June through August? For
Oh,
example, for example, Charlotte averages 21 days with thunderstorms in the summer. Now, I know that nobody, or there's going to be a rare number of people who get this right on the first, on the exact number. So maybe we should play Price is Right rules and maybe go, five either way, or I don't
all
know.
right. Well, let's give it a whirl.
So how many thunderstorm days does Atlanta average from June through August?
Well,
Atlanta,
if Charlotte gets 21, I'm going to say 25.
Joe, it's an amazing guesstimate, and I will give that to you because, well, I'm looking here on Facebook and want to see if anybody did get it right on the
Frank
nose.
R said 27.
Well, Norm Roberts got it with 26.
26. Very good.
Very, very good, Norm.
Well, that deserves a bell ring, I think.
Well, let's try this one. How about Baltimore?
I'll say Charlotte's 21. Baltimore, I'm going to say 15. Ta-da!
Who was the idiot who just said, Joe, there's no way in the world you're going to get it on the nose? You missed the first one by one, and you got this one right on the nose. Amazing. How about Boston?
All right, so Baltimore was 15. Hmm. I'm going to say a single digit number and say 8.
Too low.
Too low. Okay.
Somebody on the chat board did get it right on the nose, but I won't reveal that for the moment. But Joe Gaffney almost got it on the nose with 12, and same with Mike Waterhouse Bonsai. But
Well,
there's one,
John Melander has 13.
no, but
Frank
how about,
Scalera's got 11.
and that's it. Frank Scalera with 11, and so was Mark D. 42, 11 for Boston. Ding, 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 ding. How about Chicago?
Oh, now this gets tough. Boston 15. I'm sorry, 11.
Boston was 11. Baltimore was 16.
And they were in the Midwest where they tend to get more thunderstorms anyway. I'll say 19.
Oh, so close. Snake country again for Joe. You're doing pretty
Mike
damn good with this.
Mike Waterhouse Bonsai has 20,
Well,
and Tyler Fienga at 18.
and Tyler Fenga, you get the bell.
And Izzy D also had 18.
18. Last one, and this is the last one, there's no bonuses tonight, is Dallas.
Oh God. What do
And
we say for
the
what do
question
we
is
say?
how many thunderstorm days do they average in the summer, June through August?
What do we say for Atlanta?
26.
26. I'll say 28.
Again, Joe, with the snaky, so close.
The category wasn't as hard as you thought.
Yeah, I really. And we do have a winner on the chat board, a couple of winners. We have Chuck Cardillo and Frank R. with 29.
Oh, and Izzy D and
And
Brady G 111 also said 29.
there you go.
Yeah, I did pretty well with this.
I'm amazed.
I did pretty well. Well, you know what? Having that Charlotte number at 21 was very helpful.
Right.
Because then you could just kind of, you know, use that as your starting point, and then you can figure out where to go from there. By the way, I would like to point out that my dog is in exactly the same position he was when the show was started. He is alive. It's amazing, because he just knows when I'm doing this podcast to just not bother me. He doesn't, if there's cars coming in and out, he's usually barking at those. Nothing. Nothing. He's out like a light. Of course, as soon as the show is over, he's going to go back in the other room. But
Now, does he sleep with you?
no, he stays in the bed until I get in the bed. And then as soon as I get in the bed, he gets off the bed.
Oh,
He will not stay with me in bed during the night. Now, there's nothing, subversive about that, just so you know, just to be clear. But what he does is he'll sleep. I have a blanket on the floor, and he sleeps on the floor of the bed, almost like he's guarding. And, something in the morning when I wake up, he's usually in the other room, either on the couch or he's on the floor. As soon as I come out of the bedroom, we just do this bread and butter thing where I come out of the bedroom and he passes me without even acknowledging me. He just passes me right by, and then he jumps back into the bed and sleeps for another hour or so.
he doesn't even say bread butter.
No, not at all. Well, all right. So we're done for the night.
All
And
right,
I think,
thank everybody for putting up with the 25-minute delay because of the library talk that I gave this evening. I did something very unusual. I actually went and appeared at the library. I rarely ever do that. I do most of the talks virtually, but they were only about 10 minutes away from my house. And so, whoa, can't you come? And I did. And I'll tell you, the biggest round of applause that I got, Joe, tonight was at the very end. And I said at the very end, I don't want to make this political, but I do want to say one thing. And I did talk about in my presentation how we get our forecasts, the balloons that are sent up twice a day, and how the information from the radio sondes are transmitted to the local weather office, which then in turn is sent to Washington and into the supercomputers, which chew out or churn out the weather forecast maps that we deal with. But at the end, I said, I'm all for getting rid of waste in government. And of course, we are $37 trillion in the red right now. But I did say, rather than take a sledgehammer to the budget, why can't we just use what a surgeon would use, a scalpel, and just very carefully extract whatever waste there is. And I said, by far and away, what is certainly not waste is what is happening right now to the National Weather Service, which is part of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which provides, and again, we had about 50 people in the room. I didn't get anybody here who booed or seemed upset by what I was saying, but when I said they provide a substantial return on investments for taxpayers. I pointed to them. This is one thing I miss when I do the weather, when I do presentations virtually. But now I'm in front of a group, I'm in front of a crowd, and I pointed to them. I said, every one of you who is a taxpayer, like I am a taxpayer, you are a taxpayer. I said, while it costs roughly $1.4 billion annually, NOAA and the National Weather Service is estimated to provide a 73 to 1 ratio, 73 to 1 return on investment, meaning that every dollar invested generates $73 in public value. This value stems from improved citizen preparedness, increased private sector profits, and enhanced disaster prevention. In other words,
And
if
a
you're going to,
more efficient farming, because
right,
the
if you're going to
farmers,
cut, I mean, if you're going to cut, yes, I'm in favor of cutting, but cut where it needs to be cut. Don't cut something where you're getting more bang for your buck. And this is one thing that we are getting. I said in the past month or two, literally hundreds upon hundreds of people working at the National Weather Service have been given a pink slip, and now there are various places that are closing down. Historical sites. You know that beginning next year, after major government disasters in the aftermath of, let's say, a major hurricane, we won't know the exact amount, the exact dollar amount that has occurred in terms of damage in the aftermath of hurricanes or tropical storms. That is completely coming to an end because of the program at NOAA. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And after I've gone through all of that, I got, again, probably the biggest round of applause that I got for the entire session. It was a very good session, I think. I think a lot of people enjoyed the talk, but that got the biggest applause was the information about what is being cut. And all I said was, please write to your councilman, your senator, whoever, and tell them all about this and urge them to stop it or try to stop it.
knock it off.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 4 cents a day. It's 4 cents a day out of your taxes. 4 cents.
Yep.
I mean, you can't even get a piece of gum anymore for 4 cents.
Precisely.
You know? Well, we will, of course, be here to fill in whatever voids there are, as we always do here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. So you need not worry about us being cut. The network has not, the network has kept us well fed. So,
Izzy D, I don't know when Joe is coming north again.
I'm not.
Appearance.
I'll let you know, but I'm not. I have no plans at all. I am not driving up to New York anytime soon. So, there. That should hold you off. And by soon, I would say that probably means within the next, certainly for the rest of this year. Unless somebody, God forbid, dies. Then my plans may change. Knock on wood that doesn't happen. Okay. But
well,
no,
if you ever come up, I think we're going to have to rent a restaurant or some kind of a catering hall, because I think we're going to have a lot of people who would want to just come up and shake your hand or shake our hands and just get together and see each other in the flesh.
Well, maybe one day that'll happen, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
And on that note, we will see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Say good night, Joe.
Good night, Joe.